Good morning, all of you. Very nice to see you again, and it's the first time after summer break to the first event, actually. So looking forward to today. And customer data platform, as is the topic, is a hot topic in the Nordics and among our 20,000 members we see from both spring but all the pandemic. Still, there are many questions about business value and system structure and integrations and what you need to have in place before you start a project around CDP. So we hope that you will get some answers on that today. Warm welcome to our new event, CDP Day. Okay, when relations goes Nordic, and today we have about 25% of our delegates that are coming from outside of Sweden, rest of Nordic, and also some European other countries. And because of that, we do this event in English. Okay? My sidekick I would like to present today is Daniel Johansson. Welcome, Daniel.
Good morning, everyone. So basically, I just want to inform everyone that if you have any questions for the speakers during the event, then you just publish them on the chat function in Zoom, and I will do my best to forward them during our Q&As and do my best for that. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And also we have some polls, right?
That is correct. That is correct. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. So maybe we should start with one and see if that works, because Daniel are running the polls for you. So first question is, what is that then? What is the reason for you to attend CDP Day? We're just testing the function. So of course also interesting. So the different alternatives are better understand the business values of CDP platform, just curious about CDPs, to load up on ideas and insights ahead of our implementation of a CDP platform, learn more about CDP in general to make a future decision, or CDPs, what is that? Of course, then maybe you should think about why are you here? Okay, anyway, let's check the results after world. What's happening, Daniel? Do we get any?
Yeah, there's a lot of action still, so just
we're waiting for a while.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, so I end the
no
poll
problem,
now.
no hurry.
So you should be able to see
I
that.
will. Oh God, this is interesting. Let's see here. Better understand the business values of CDP platform is on top. The second one is learn more about CDPs in general to make a future decision easier. I mean, that's a little bit of the feeling we have. Just curious about CDPs is the third one, and also load up on ideas and insights. That's in general, of course, what we like to do when we have an event, right, like this. So maybe in the future we also do a training course and see if that could be relevant for you, but maybe you need to come a little bit more longer into the process of deciding. So what else do we have? Don't miss the last presentation, and actually the only female on stage today, and that is Åsa Appelqvist from ESS Group. You maybe haven't heard about ESS Group, but they own a lot of interesting spa resorts and others, like what is it called, Daniel, the one in Lidingö? Hillary Beach Club or something?
I don't know about that, sorry.
Anyway, very popular one. So, I mean, they have a lot of different, in Sweden actually, only I believe. Anyway, they do an CDP implementation, and also will tell you about all the experience from that, good things and bad things and what you should think about. So don't miss that one. In the end, we end at 12, so that is before that, okay? We also have a very, I would say, very interesting panel discussion with the speakers before Åsa and just after the break at around 11. So don't miss that either. And then you can, of course, send in more questions, comments, and ideas about what you think. And we can take up that and discuss that. So, and again, don't miss to send in your questions or comments for during each speaker. And Daniel and I will have a Q&A after each presentation with the speaker. So you can send in them and we will take them there. Okay, so I hope everything is fine. I hope you sit down, have a coffee ready, and now we will go on. The first speaker I would like to introduce you, the key to personalized omnichannel marketing. Emil Björnskär, Senior Consultant from Millton Insights. Welcome. Big hand. I will hand.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Nice to meet you and in real life here.
Thank you, thank you.
So
I don't think
I
they see
move
me
over.
here.
So everything feel fine?
Yeah, feels great.
I'm
Great
very
to be here,
eager
yeah.
to listen to what you have to say.
Yeah.
So stage is yours.
So
Welcome.
thank you, Mats. Thank you for the introduction. So I will talk a bit about what a CDP is, also what to think about when choosing one, and the key benefits of using it, and also when you go and implement one. So I'm not going to talk long about me, but just short. I've been in this industry for over a decade, but most relevantly, I work at Millton Insight day to day with this kind of questions, helping companies to what type of platform do they need, what type of platform does suit them, and how do you find a platform that is fit for purpose, both in like CDPs obviously, but also loyalty and marketing automation platforms. So first, like our industry love these acronyms, right? So there are a lot of buzzwords and a lot of overlapping, they have overlapping functionalities, overlapping technologies, and hopefully today me and some of the other speakers here can clarify more what a CDP is and the benefits of using specifically a CDP. So I'll come in more to that going forward in the presentation, but let's start. What is a CDP and what does it do? How can it help you? So obviously it helps you collect a lot of customer data. So it can help you in all your different customer facing tools to get that data in. So it can be from website, apps, databases, data warehouses, or wherever, like where you store your data or you collect your data and get it collected. And also I would say most of the best of breed CDPs, they will also have a lot of integrations. So they will have hundreds of integrations and are already connected to your tools that you're using and working with. So I myself, I can't write a single line of code, but with a CDP, I can connect our analytics, our activation channels, marketing automation platforms. I can connect these platforms and using and leverage all the data that the company is collecting and using. So that is one key strength, I think, and that also make you a lot less dependent on your IT department. And we all know how hard it can be to get IT resources, right? The next thing, like now we're collecting a lot of data, but the CDP also have, you can set up the structure there. What type of data are you allowing to get into your CDP? Does it have the right format? It also will help you block if a channel would start sending bad data if something goes wrong. So you can control and ensure that the data you are collecting have the quality and is in the format that you actually are able to use it. The CDP will also help you transform the data to make it comparable and usable. So not going into details, but if you track, for example, Mats here has been clicking on a Facebook ad, and then we can measure a purchase from that he's coming from Facebook, and then you have a purchase, he has also been in the store and made a purchase. Obviously, this data set will look a bit differently to each other. So very simple example could be like order completed or completed order or a purchase. So a purchase can look in a lot of different, in many different ways, but the CDP will help you to transform that, set up the rules for what is a transaction, for example, and then you can make the data comparable between your different channels and platforms that you're using. And now we have, like, we're collecting data, we're ensuring high quality. The CDP, one key strength that I personally like a lot with them is that you can build your own framework for how to identify your customers. You can set up the rules. What is your different type of IDs that you want to use, and also like rank them and put a priority. What is a primary key and key ID, but also like sub-primary keys that you can use to identify. So like once you have something that is matching on an unknown identity, someone have been visiting your website, you don't know who it is, but as soon as the CDP finds something that can tell, like, okay, we know that it's email that has been on the website, then they will stitch the data together and will enrich your customer profiles, meaning that you will build a really, really good and strong data set that you can do insights on, but also drive for activation. So we have collected the data, we have high quality data, we have identified who the user is, So now it's really when the fun part starts as a marketer. You can build super strong segments that you can decide, like, okay, what channel, I have this segment A, and I want to send it to channel B or C or D, or I want to stream the data live immediately, so real-time data streaming to different channels. So here is really when you can start building this one-to-one personalized marketing. So the CDP is a really strong foundation for you to get this 360 view and ensure that you can activate your data that you're collecting. So I mentioned in the start a bit about the overlapping technologies. I won't go into super details about that, but a few examples. It's like a CDP, I've heard at least before a lot of times get confused and mixed up with a DMP, but the DMP is more like collecting data for digital advertising, and it doesn't have the aim or are looking for to identify the customer. And that's one part how it differs from a CDP. A CDP wants to identify the customer and make sure you have you can drive personalized content. If you take the CRM as an example, that's like you always say, you have the 360 view of your customer in the CRM system. And I mean, it is built to get the customer view, but CRM system is very often a sales support system where you can add in manual data, and manual data can be hard to compare to each other and make actionable. Also, it is the CRM platform is not really built today to activate in all these digital channels and applications that are out there on the market today that really has exploded. I will move on. So I talked a bit what is a CDP, some of the strengths of it. But I will go into the common challenges a few companies have, and also the key benefits of using CDP, how to resolve this. And today, consumer have massive amount, like the touch points, how you can interact with companies have exploded, and it's more than ever. And you have you can of course, like, you have all the transactional channels, but also like social media, you have chat box, you can call in the customer service, and like the data companies get a lot of data on the consumers, but it collected from a lot of different channels. And this has followed by a lot of, or like an explosion of specialized tools that are really strong in their niche, like on marketing automation or driving digital ads or personalization, which also makes the data fragmented. So the data sits in different platforms, it sits on different parts of the organization, meaning it gets hard to actually leverage and use this data. And the fact is, companies have more data today than ever, but it has not followed with the same amount of insights and activation, and the leveraging of this data hasn't followed the amount of data that companies has today. So according to a Forrester study that I'm referring to here, you have 60 to 73% of the data goes unused because bad formatting and poor quality. And imagine that potential, how much data we have that we can use, and how much data we actually, or what we actually know about the customer, but we are not leveraging on that today. So a lot of companies is not prepared to handle this amount of data, and it still sits in both platform silos, but also in silos within the organization. So how can a CDP help us then? So I've talked about the strong ID resolution. So you can set up the IDs after your own structure. If you have a CRM key ID, or if it's on the website, or if you have apps, or whatever you see that is putting some kind of ID on the customer, you can build that up, and the CDP will help you to stitch that to a customer profile and help you enrich the data you have on each single customer. Data structure, obviously in itself, a CDP is built to hold a data set and a cohesive data set and a good data structure, but also by doing a CDP project, if you're going through an implementation of a CDP, you will need to work with the data that you have, and you will need to ensure and look over that, ensure that you have the data you need to activate, and also look over the quality of the data. So driving an implementation of a CDP will also help you to raise the quality of the data you're collecting, and also then with the CDP, it will help you to ensure that it keeps it that way and it gets better and better. Also, we all know that the cookies are disappearing. So cookie death, we have been talking about that for some time. But with a CDP, you will have the structure and the functionality to actually collect zero and first-party data in a structured way, stitching that to your customer profile. And I mean, who do you think will go out ahead? If you wait for the cookies to disappear, or if you start collecting your customer data and ensuring the data quality already today, you will have a benefit. And I would recommend everyone to start doing it as soon as possible. And also, a CDP will help you to democratize your data that you're collecting. So I've been at companies, a previous employer of mine, where if you have, we drove a digital campaign, and you ask the digital ads team, how much did we sell on this campaign? And you ask the marketing automation team, how much did you sell on this campaign? And you look with the e-commerce, how much did you sell on this campaign? And then you talk to your BI team and like, okay, how much did we actually sell on this campaign? And if you compare the numbers from these channels with your actual total, it won't make sense, because the channel will have attributed a lot more sales, each one of them. They will have an overlap on that. And of course, that is an attribution model problem, but when looking at the same sources and the same type of data, that will be like the foundation to actually build an attribution model that is fair, and everyone is comparing and looking at the same type of data. Of course, the CDP will help you with the 360 view. So connecting all the tools and all the data you have on your customers will, of course, take you a lot closer to the 360 view that everyone is aiming for. And also, as I mentioned, the CDP will help you to break silos. It's quite often you see that the CDP is marketed as a marketing tool, but I would say it's a cross-department and cross-functional tool. You will need the sales data. You will need your BI team to help you set up the data. In the beginning, you might need support of your IT team as well to bring that. So, and you will need to break the silos within the marketing department as well. So a CDP can help you in that way as well. Okay, so now we know the benefits, and we're going to buy a CDP, right? So everyone wants to buy a CDP now. So, but what should you think about? There is a lot of different CDPs and a lot of different companies marketing themselves as a CDP. So there is a few things to actually consider, and that you should think about what is it that you want to do. So no matter if it's CDP platform or another type of platform, what is the why? What is it that you want to achieve? What kind of pain points do you have? What kind of gain points do you see? Is it something, if you solve this problem, you have a huge, you will sell a lot, or you will get a lot of better insights on your customers. So really start with thinking through that. And when you've done that, define that as a use case. So if you build up a few strong use cases, it will not only help you to select what type of CDP you should go after, but also what to prioritize within a CDP project when you're implementing it. And I will get back to that later. Also, point 2 here is that I've listed a few points, and like what is, besides your use cases, what is important for you to resolve? Is it the data structure that you need to improve, or do you want to be super crisp on your marketing automation, or do you want to be better working together with your digital ads and the marketing automation team? This point you in a direction what type of CDP you should look on, because a few CDPs will be super strong on the data. A few of them will be super strong on the integration part. Others are better on the activation, and there are CDPs that are hybrids, maybe like less strong on the actual CDP part, but can do marketing automation within the same platform. So really like this can point you in a direction what to think about and what type of vendor you should look for. Then, of course, in this type of project and in any larger projects, you need to be aligned internally and organization-wise. So you have what competences do you have when you're going to implement? Do you have a strong data science team that will be involved both in the implementation but also operational? Or is it primarily marketing that will work with it? So if it's marketing, then maybe the user interface get more important, and how easy is it to use? Is it intuitive? And if you have a lot of, like, you will have to get a lot of support of your data team. Okay, then we can go for a more complex data model and the one that is stronger on the data set, so we really can leverage on the data we have. And you also need to think about what is the data we have today? How does it look like? Because, okay, we want to achieve this use case. Do we have the data to achieve it? Or is it something we need to think about in that part? Where are we going to send this data to actually activate it and be able to use it? Is the data consistent or is it inconsistent? Are we getting it in the format as we want? This, of course, you can help with the CDP platform can help you with this, but it's really good to think that through before you start. Some success factors then when implementing one. I'm pointing out the organization again. I want to stress that because you really need to be aligned. You will get so much more out of the CDP if you're aligned between sales, BI, marketing, and who is going to own it, who is going to drive this when we actually are into operations. Also to have the management buy-in that since you're going cross department. Then also, I mentioned like your why on the previous slide, and if you start with your best use cases, so if you take the best use cases where we will get the most value, then it will help you prioritizing the project. So then you have your use case and you can see like, okay, what data do we need to achieve this use case? Okay, that's what we're going to start then to connect to the CDP. It also will help you that you can work in iterations. So by starting with one use case and then starting to actually use the CDP will also help you to and guide you how to proceed in the project. So if you start thinking like, okay, I'm going to resolve all my data projects, then this can be a gigantic project. But if you prioritize your use cases and take them one by one and then start working in the CDP, you will be able to prioritize and you will resolve the key get the key benefits out of it. So now we have implemented one. Where should we stand then? Okay, of course you have gotten the most out of your use cases, but also the CDP should have helped you now to build a really strong cohesive data set. So you have structured, consistent, high quality data. It helped you to be like compliant. So now you have control of your data. Some of the CDPs will be able to tell other systems like, okay, this users want to be anonymous, so we should delete it. But also like by having control and having a good quality of your customer data will ensure you to be compliant with all the different regulations that are popping. Okay, so we have collected high quality data, we have that in the system, then like we of course shorten the lead time from getting data in, doing insights on the data, activate it in a lot of different channels where we want to send it. I mentioned democratize your data. Everyone can look at the same type of data. We can look at the data from different sources. We have ensured that it is comparable, and in that way we can compare the activities we're doing, and the marketing activities, sales activities, the analytics will be easier. So and from that we have connected all our different activation channels, and the CDP, since it's ensuring this quality of the data, it will also help drive and increase the value of your connected tools. So a marketing automation tool should be a lot better now when we have data from more sources. We're getting it real time in a high quality. A personalization tool should be much stronger because we know a lot more of our customers. And whatever type of channel you're connecting, the value of those platforms should increase by using the CDP in the right way. And that was everything from me. I hope there are some questions. Talk with Mats, and otherwise feel free to connect to me as well if you have any questions afterwards.
Thank you, Emil. Very
Thank
good
you.
presentation. I would say very structured, actually. So that's nice.
Good.
A good start with
Yeah.
the overview. Of course, I have some questions. Let's see if also you have some questions from the audience. Do I understand it right now when I think that CDP, I mean, why do we suddenly have a need for a CDP? Is that because of all the data that customers creating or all the online channels creating?
Yeah, so like as I mentioned in presentation, there are more customers have a lot more interaction points and touch points with companies today. So there are so many more channels to collect the data from, but it often gets fragmented and sits in silos within the organization, both from a platform perspective, but also from an organizational perspective. So it's hard to like a lot of the data is not getting activated. We are not leveraging on all the data we actually have on customers today.
Yeah, and I know I met a lot of customers that say that we have a lot of data, we're collecting them, but we don't know what to do with it.
And customer, also if you look at consumer perspective, if you have handed out your personal data, you expect the company to be personalized and drive relevant content for you. So consumers have that expectations on the companies today. So if you're giving out your data, you want something back, right? And there is also a gap there today.
I think actually, I mean, we're coming back to that, that I think a lot of companies missing the customer value of giving away data. I usually take Runkeeper as an example. You get a lot of value because you want to give them, because you get a lot of value from it. But from the most of the companies, they say, we're going to personalize your messages and so on. But maybe you should need even think more into.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there is a two-way street here, right? So if you give something, you want something back, and you should really like collecting data from companies. It's not in a perspective like, oh, we should all just know everything about our customers. It's also like, okay, how can we make their life easier, or can we drive a behavior that is beneficial for us, or how can we make things easier for each other? So it should be mutually beneficial on both sides. And that a lot of companies are missing that opportunity today because they are not able to like get their data in a holistic way today, to look at it in a holistic way and be able to activate it.
And so then you need a CDP.
Yeah, I would say so.
And if you're sitting there now in the office and maybe you realize that, oh, we need a CDP, but I need to convince the manager or my boss about it. I mean, who is it for? We're going to talk about it more also in the panel discussion, but is it for B2B, B2C? You need to have a lot of customer base, or?
No, it's for both B2B and B2C. I would say it depends on, of course, the customer base, but also the different channels that you're using. The more channels you're selling through, or more channels that the consumer can interact with you, that increase the value of having a CDP as a backbone for for marketing.
Yeah, of course, as a B2B company, you can have maybe a few customers, but a lot of contacts within each customer. So
yeah, a lot of exactly. You have the complexity with company structure, then like the hierarchy. Someone is your contact person, someone is actually signing the contract, but also they have quite often they can have a lot of sales channels. So you have both like account management. You can sell through your website. They can have stores. They are at fairs. So they have a lot of different sales channels. But also getting that they can be quite complex to get a view what have one customer actually done, and how are they interacting with us, and what channel do they prefer to be interacted with us.
is it only the customer data you have in the CDP? It's not like rules for the marketing automation system or
Not all rules, but you can put up segmentation and to segment your customer data, and you can tell and like nudge your marketing automation system to like, okay, send if this happens, send them an email or send them a text message or send this data to Facebook if they are not opening the email, because you will get the data back, right? So then you can really decide like, okay, this channel didn't work, use it in another connected channel then, and try to activate the customer there.
And what I mean is where should you link it to? What is the integrations from a CDP? Is that a CRM system and MA system?
Yeah, it's all of them was said. So like you should link it the website if you have an app, your data warehouse, point of sale, e-commerce.
So you get in data in.
Yeah, you get in. But some of the channels will be like a source and a channel or a destination where you can send it. So like a marketing automation tool, like you're sending out a lot of emails, that data you should send back to the CDP to get a better view. Are they opening the emails, are they looking at it, and compare it to the other data and see, okay, is it here we should activate it or not? And then of course, getting data in the CDP from other channels, you can say like send it to the marketing automation platform. So it's a loop, right? The data is circling around, meaning that you continuously increase the data and enrich the customer profile more and more, getting better and better data.
Okay, good. Thank you. Daniel?
We have no questions.
No questions. What are you doing? Wake up. Coming back next time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Emil.
Thank you.
So, and now it's time for the next speaker, and this will be interesting. Go beyond marketing with CDP and removing data blind spots. Let's welcome Kasper Andersen, Senior Consultant from Treasure Data. Welcome, Kasper.
Thank you, Mats. Thank you.
Happy you coming all the way from Copenhagen.
Yes, quite a trip.
Have you had a nice summer? Been hot there or not?
Yes, it's been perfect weather for us.
It's perfect weather.
Almost
That's
a little
nice.
bit too warm at times.
Yeah.
I'm not used to it.
Exactly. But not 40 degrees maybe like in
no,
UK.
No. We didn't get there yet. Maybe next year.
Yeah. Welcome. Stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And thanks for having us come here and present our point of view. Hi everybody, my name is Kasper. I'm a Senior Solution Consultant at Treasure Data. I'm here today to talk to you about removing data blind spots and thinking about how you're connecting your customer experience beyond what we traditionally see within marketing activities. Let me just see how I change to this next slide. First of all, a quick introduction to what is Treasure Data actually. So we were founded a little bit more than 10 years ago as a big data platform. So we've been in the data space now for a very long time. A few 5-6 years ago, we pivoted into the CDP space. Have been growing in that over those years. We are recognized as one of the best CDPs in the market, and focuses primarily on the enterprise space. As you can see, some of the exampling customers we have here. We are CDP only, which means that we work in the center of a MarTech architecture or overall architecture, agnostically with all of the platforms around it, us. So let's first talk about what is actually blind spot. So I've worked in this space for more than 10 years. I've worked with e-commerce platforms, marketing automation platform, DMPs, so on. And the one thing that always comes to mind, always becomes a bit of a challenge, is data. It will continue to do so, but it is really the key in order for driving your customer experiences and customer unification. So what is a blind spot? Blind spot is missing pieces of data that you are trying to connect on your unified profile. So I'll give you an example of that. We have two persons here, or two people. They look very similar based on the initial profile that we have here. They're both like dogs, they're from the UK. And based on this profile, we will probably target them exactly in the same way. But when we look a little bit deeper, we have Prince Charles on one side of things, and then we have Ozzy Osbourne on the other side. And I'm pretty sure that if we target these with the same marketing messages or same customer experience, it will not be super effective. So that's why we need to fill in their profile, complete the unified profile of them, or 360-degree profile, and fill in those blind spots that we're missing here. So first of all, let's talk about some of the expectations and why this is so important, and why it's so important to fill in the profile and deliver these connected customer experience. First of all, we see that customers are a lot more digital these days. They're becoming more data savvy, more digital savvy, and they know what they're actually doing with the data today. At least have a very good idea about it. That also means that they're cautious about how they're actually sharing the data. How is that data being shared with companies? Are they giving the consent? What are you going to do with it? And is it going to be giving us relevance back in regards to the data that we choose to share? And while at the same time you're being compared with the Amazons and the Googles and the Apples and the experience that you get there, based on the data that you're delivering, because this is now setting the standard for the kind of experience that they're expecting to get from us. They want to have this me experience. This is a one-to-one dialogue, a one-to-one relationship that they want to have because of the data that they're giving to you. And if we look into actually some research that was done talking to CMOs around the world, we see that the main focus is really improving customer experiences and ensuring that you have that data, that critical data, to deliver those customer experiences. Unfortunately, only 9% actually validate that they have the data out there. They unfortunately, the rest will unfortunately be missing that critical data. And that's why we're talking about data blind spots, because that missing data will mean that you're missing out on critical intelligence around your customers that you can use to drive your engagement with them and potentially the conversion of them as well. So that means, as Emil touched a little bit on as well, there is a new layer to the value exchange that we have with our customers. It used to be, okay, is this brand worth my time and my money? Am I actually happy with what I'm giving them there? Now there's this layer of saying, I'm actually accepting that you get my data, so that in return I will get a much more relevant experience. I will get products that are suited for me, or recommendations that are suited for me in the time that I need them. I don't want to see a marketing campaign when I have a service complaint open right now. I don't want to see the same product that I just bought on whatever kind of channel or touch point it is that I'm interacting with at the brand. And it's extremely important to understand that customers know this. They're seeing that there is more and more data out there, and they want something back for giving it to you. And if you do, if you actually give that relevance, you will get more and more data in, and you will continue to build that one-to-one relationship with them over time and scale from that, basically. The challenge, of course, is that over time these silos has been built, and they continue to be built, and it's not exactly anything new. We're going through this digital transformation that we've been talking about now for years, and which COVID, for that matter, has accelerated significantly. But we still do have our identities in different kind of data sources across different kind of channels and devices, and that's creating these silos for us. And it's not going to be easier over time. We're going to see more and more applications available. The Martech stack alone is seeing more and more 8,000 in the market itself of applications that companies are buying into. We're seeing more and more data sources actually being connected in now. So this is in average around 15 today, but this is going to grow up over the next couple of years and be maybe, I believe it's around 25 in average per company that a data source needs to be connected to. That is creating silos, and it will continue to unless you start building that foundation layer of your data. So what it really comes down to here in a very short term is that customers and companies and brands need to live and die by their customers and the experiences that they deliver to their customers. You want to focus on getting that 5-star review from them. You want to make sure that they're actually advocating for you on social media and not criticizing you. And this is really where we see the CDP coming in and playing a vital role in really orchestrating that customer experience for your brand. So Emil mentioned it as well. There are a lot of acronyms out there. It's not easy. It is a busy space, so to speak. And actually, CDP came from being a centralized data platform that was managed and built for IT to now pivot again to being this business user platform that really drives marketing activities. I will actually, Daniel, this is where we bring the poll up. I'm glad that I remembered that. There's a quick poll for you, a quick question on do you actually have a CDP today? And just a simple yes or no question. And while I wait for the answers to in, I'll just dig into what we see as an actual CDP is. First of all, we see it into these pillars of capabilities, being able to unify your data in the different kind of levels of data management and unification in both batch and real time, creating one single customer view. Then you want to be able to build insights and analytics on that, so continuously throughout your customer journey, the different lifecycle stages that they go through, you need to enrich the profile and orchestrate the communication from the CDP. And that then means they being able to across all of the channels, across all of the touch point leverage things like machine learning capabilities, content affinity, nest-based action, real-time messaging, all orchestrated from the CDP. And of course, this comes in different variations across all of the different, believe it's 160 CDP vendors that's in the market today, and only a few will actually cover this complete picture of the CDP capabilities. And another study. Did we get the result on it?
Yeah, we had 85% said no. They don't
No
have
to
a
CDP.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. So there was a study done by Gartner some time ago where they asked the customers out, do you have a CDP today? And 87% actually answered that they had a CDP. And of those 87%, they said that they actually had more CDPs. They had 2.3 CDPs in average, which is a bit confusing and probably really explains what kind of space is it that we're moving in. Of course, as Emil also touched on, that's because we have marketing automation tools, real-time personalization engines that also have certain CDP capabilities and perhaps positioning themselves as a CDP. In our point of view, there should only be one CDP. There should be in the center of your MarTech and your overall architecture, and that should fulfill all of your requirements for a CDP that Emil also touched upon. Unfortunately, today, only 10% feel that they actually get out of the CDP what they need, which of course is where we are trying to help out. And if we dig a little bit deeper into the technology market as today, we see that unfortunately, because of these challenges of achieving a 360-degree view of your customers, companies will essentially try and abandon this goal because we're getting more and more strict with our regulations. You need to be able to govern it better, and it's becoming more and more difficult to really remove those data blind spots and connect all of your data around the unified profile. And that's of course a concern because it's again missing out on really critical data, really critical information around your customers and how you should be engaging with them. At the same time, we also see that even for CDP vendors or customers that are buying a CDP, they are challenged by really achieving this 360-degree point of view, and they're really missing all of these or having all of these data blind spots. So it iterates the fact that the market is really complicated to understand, and vendors today are kind of being either acquired or they're diversifying to different aspects of different categories. So it is really complicated to dig into. I'm happy I'm not there on that side of things today. To try and understand it all. So our point of view from treasure data side is that the CDP needs to be in the center of your architecture. It's not a thing that you just change in and out frequently. It will be easier to do with a marketing automation platform, for example, but a CDP really is in the center, and it's not only marketing platform anymore. I know that it's originally built for that perspective, but we see more and more advantages in IT being a lot more efficient. You want to make sure that your services are leveraging the same connected profile that you're creating, so that your campaigns are following that experience that you're getting from a service or a sales perspective, and you're connecting all of this across the unified profile. It really becomes one experience towards the customer. And that's why we look at it from a customer data cloud perspective. We want to connect the efficiency that you can get out of the platform from an IT perspective, and saying you can connect any type of data into the treasure data CDP, raw, unstructured, real time, all of it coming in, making it easier for your IT to really be effective in the way that they're building integrations. It's not only customer data, but it's also data related to the customer, such as products, and cases and all these kind of information. And then you want to be efficient in the way that you're communicating with your customers. So we really believe that a strong CDP will allow you to see, okay, the sales rep really know what kind of topic they need to talk with the customer about. The next actions are there. The real-time interactions are there in order for them to follow up on. The same for service. They know how to quickly and efficiently make the customer happy and solve whatever issue that they might have. So we really want to focus on not only from a platform perspective, the connect and everything, but also from an organizational perspective. Center your CDP in the center of all. Create one team around the resources that you have available, around the organization that you're working in, and then connect the experience throughout in a centralized source of truth for your customer data. One example of that is AB InBev. It's a brewery. You maybe know Budweiser and Corona and so on. They are across multiple different countries. They have more than 500 brands, and something that they were really lacking was the connected to the end consumer, connection to the end consumer. They were lacking that first party data. They were lacking a central foundation of data, and really not being able to get enough out of the customer communication. They purchased the CDP from Treasure Data. They put it in the center of it all. They connected more than 1,000 different data sources, and this is done over the last 2 years or so. They are doing this across 40 different countries, and they are now targeting directly unique customer, more than 70 million unique customers, based on extensive ID resolution that they're doing, data management and quality assurance. All built within the Treasure Data CDP, and really being able to drive efficient campaigns based on it, all orchestrated from our point of view. And if we look at some of those use cases and results that they're getting up on it, they're really being able to optimize their campaigns, lower their cost of acquisition for customers. They're a lot stronger in the way that they are building out their audiences, sending off to things like Facebook for lookalike, and being a lot more efficient in the way that the media spend is and their segmentation. And lastly, they really have now a centralized place for their customer data to govern, to federate, to ensure that they actually have a complete picture of their customers. They're really working on removing those data blind spots, completing the picture itself, and being as relevant and efficient in the way that they're doing their campaigns. So I'm going to end it on a last note here. Just for your sake, my main message here is think about all of the data that you have there stored across your different silos and will continue to get in over time. Think about how you best possible can use that data and providing that connected experience, removing those data silos, removing those data blind spots, and think beyond marketing as well. There are going to be questions right now where you're thinking, okay, this is what we need right now, but think a little bit beyond over the next couple of years and how you will scale from that foundation that you want to build, based on all of the data that you're connecting across the different data sources. And then I will leave you on a QR code here as well that refers into our CDP for Dummies that you can scan and download and get some more information on it, on what a CDP is. That's what I had.
Kasper.
Over to you.
Thank you, Kasper.
Thank you.
We give a big hand in the studio.
Yes, I appreciate that.
So, I mean, both Treasure Data, Tealium, and Adobe are partners here today, and of course, all of you have a platform to provide the market with. I mean, how do you see the market?
No, as I mentioned, it's a tough market. I think there's 160 different kind of CDPs out there, and they all kind of comes in different variations. That will be the one platform kind of player, the best of suite, which will say, okay, we're CDP, but we also do a lot of other stuff, and there will be advantages in probably connecting all of those different platforms that you have there. And then you will have more independent best of breed solutions like ourselves that really focuses on a CDP only. And I'm probably more agnostic than others. So we will connect with the Adobes and the Salesforce and so on, but we will also connect with anything else out there.
Okay. So, I mean, I know from marketing automation that suddenly email marketing solutions call themselves, we are a MA platform, but maybe they were more of an email marketing platform still. Is that the same here, that some vendor, I mean, you are more best of breed, but is it vendors that you believe that they say,
Yeah, I think Emil touched a little bit on it as well. There are different capabilities that are being identified from a CDP perspective, and you can touch into that even from a marketing automation point of view and say, well, we do some integration and we do some data management and some stitching around. But in the end, is that enough to fill the needs of the customers and what they really want to get out of a CDP? And I think that's exactly the reason why a lot of people or companies that's bought into a CDP today are not completely happy with it, because it is such a confusing market, and I get the fact that it can be tricky to really understand in depth.
Yeah, from the buyer side, maybe it's tricky to really, I mean, you really have to understand what they can provide.
Definitely.
Okay.
And,
so
I think Emil touched on it as well. I really dig into what is it that you need to understand or get out of your CDP. I'm not saying that we're the best CDP for everyone. It really depends on where you are as an organization and what you're trying to get out of it.
Yeah. So, in terms of all your projects and customers, who is, I mean, as you, both Emil and you said that this is not only marketing, this is for the company and all the customer data, but who is it then that should be the business owner and maybe running kind of the project from the business perspective?
That's a good question. I think from the business side of things, it will probably usually start in marketing, where they will start asking into CDP. But then we see more and more of the organization being brought into it. So there will be technical resources that will come in and ask technical questions to ensure that you govern the data proper, that you live up to your GDPRs and your data regulations. So IT will actually buy into that as well, because they can see some efficiency in the way that they are building out things, integrations, managing data, so on. And then you will have services that suddenly say, okay, we want to have that data. When we talk to our customers, we want to know what they did seconds ago on our website. We want to know what is the recommendation for them based on what the data that we have and what kind of conversation I need to have with them.
Okay.
So it starts, in short, it usually starts in marketing or IT, and then it kind of spans out when those questions are being asked about how they can actually go into to other parts of just driving campaigns.
Okay. The poll you had, that I believe was interesting, because we got like 85% that said no, business opportunity, right? But then you mentioned the Gartner that said that 85% or say 87% said they had one already.
Yeah.
So is that from Europe and Sweden are lagging behind, or what is?
Well, I definitely believe that the Nordic market is a little bit immature in the way that we are thinking about data. We're thinking about omnichannel experiences, and you will see probably in the US and a bit in UK that they are a bit ahead of us. But we're catching up, and that's why we're also trying to spread the message. The Gartner poll was done globally, so that was that will have a lot more companies that's asking into it. And again, if you then have a marketing automation that says, well, we're also a CDP, then you will say you have a CDP. But it looks like there's a lot of people in the audience that's still checking into this and investigating, which is good.
And maybe sometimes with the abbreviation that's kind of confusing. What is the CDP, and do we have one or not? Or
and this is where partners as well, like Emil, is going out and having that conversation and asking the right questions and making sure that they're actually getting what they need. And then we're happy to show how we differentiate from our competitors as well.
Yeah, that's good. So, and do you see from globally, as you're a global company, do you see industries that are ahead of others in general, or?
For us, for some reason, there's a lot of automotive that has really been ahead of others, and this CPG as well, like AB InBev, has also been quite ahead, because they need to get into the cookieless conversation. They need to be ahead and try to get as much first-party data as possible. And then retail, I think, is also one. So it seems like finance and healthcare and so on also try to understand, but there's a lot more data governance that you also need to check into there. So those are some of the industries that we really have been seeing over the last couple of years.
Okay, good. Any questions, Daniel?
Yeah, we have one question here. How big does a company have to be, or how many contacts do the CRM system have to hold to justify investing in a CDP? Is there
I think it really comes down to your industry that you're working in, or your B2B or your B2C. What are the use cases? Some will have very few amount of customers in or contacts in your CRM, but they will have still very complex data sets. That's where we're really strong. But we are probably looking at from B2C. We probably want to go around 1 million contacts and think about that, and then have some level of data complexity. We're even better when you have some on-premise solutions standing down in your basement that you want to connect to as well, because we like the data complexity and because we understand that this will grow over time. So we want to build a proper foundation.
More questions?
Nope.
I hope that answered the question.
Good. So thank you very much, Kasper.
Thank you, Mats.
We see you coming back again at the panel discussion.
Yes, looking forward to it.
And we are a little bit 5 minutes ahead of schedule, and I like to use that actually for later when we have the panel, because we have a lot of questions, and I guess that you have a lot of questions for the presenters, and let's discuss for 5 minutes longer then instead. So now we have 50 minutes, right, Daniel? 50 minutes break, and we see you soon again. Don't miss the 2 cases from both Tryg and from ESS Group later today. See you soon again. So welcome back again after a coffee break. I hope everything is fine, and sorry for we having some technical issues with actually the chat function, but now it's running. If you have questions for Emil, he will be back in the panel discussion, so just send him questions there. And we have actually have a longer panel with 5 minutes, so that's pretty good. We are ahead of schedule. That's nice. It's not always that case when we do events, right? You know that. But let's go on with the next speaker. This time, it's actually the key trends affecting the customer data platform in the marketing department. Andreas Bjurling from Data and Insights Adobe. Welcome, Andreas.
Hej, tack så mycket.
And you're coming from Stockholm, right? So
Not really, no.
not really?
No.
Where are you based?
Malmö.
Malmö.
Yes.
Oh, so
Yep.
almost Copenhagen, actually.
Almost Copenhagen, yes. I'm
And,
a part of Copenhagen, actually, yes.
And you have had a dry summer?
Depends on what the dryness comes from, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but very eager to listen to you now. So welcome on stage.
Thank you very much.
See you
Thank you
soon.
very much. Let's see if I can be visible here. So first of all, I would like to say that it's very interesting to hear both Emil and Kasper talking about the different ways of looking at the CDP in the marketplace today. As a vendor, Adobe comes from a slightly different standpoint, and I would like to kind of illustrate that at the end of my presentation. So where do we see the solution to this? How do we approach the CDP as a project? And hopefully it will kind of fill in the gaps from the previous speakers as well. So very interesting to hear and see what's going on out in the market. But first of all, I'd like to talk about the key trends that we have seen with our customers over the past few years, with ourselves, with our employees, and so on. So what is affecting us, and how do we need to think about this and address this when we start building a CDP or a customer platform internally? First of all, we have seen that the change rate is accelerating rapidly over the past few years, and especially around the pandemic when that started. So we see that our enterprise customers, have been forced to change their internal structures so much faster than they were used to before. Some even report that they change and innovate 20 to 25 times faster than they were used to, just because they have to, because the market is changing, the customers are changing. They have internal barriers. They have to digitally innovate to overcome the barriers due to emergencies, due to crisis. We can't meet each other anymore, and so on. And now, as the pandemic has slowly faded out a little bit and changed everything, we feel that our customers see that they need to plan this. They need to anticipate the changes. They need to have the right tool set and the right skills in order to innovate in the proper time frame, instead of just doing it after the crisis has happened. And of course, the biggest change of all. Customers have been digitally rewired completely during the pandemic. It's digital first, it's mobile first. They expect a high communication with you. They expect high quality and high availability. You cannot lag behind anymore, and you need to address this. Second trend, the customer demands are increasing in the marketplace. And now I'm going to kind of repeat a little bit from the previous speakers here. But I come from a customer journey background. I've been with Adobe for 14 years. I worked with marketing automation, account management, and so on. And the customer journey has been my kind of bread and butter, even though I don't eat bread anymore. So we expect the customer journey to be fairly linear. We expect it to be something that we can anticipate and plan for. Research online, react to an ad, listen to advertisements, research on your web shop, perhaps look at reviews, do a purchase, perhaps do a pickup in store, or go to a point of sales and actually go to a physical store now that the pandemic is fading out. However, as we see this from our standpoint as a vendor and also from our customer's view, this is not the true story. It's becoming increasingly more advanced to anticipate how a customer is moving. And we need to have both the skill set and the organization to support this, but above all, the technology that we can collect the data at the right time so that we can anticipate and act accordingly. So some customers grow old waiting for the right service. Some people are really, really annoyed with the service that they get, and some might be happy. But the truth of the matter is that you really need to be prepared for this really, really changing customer life cycle and customer journey that we are facing right now. And bear in mind, when the customer has had one good experience with you, they will demand more next time. At least the same, but probably more. And how do you prepare for that? Are you ready for that? Can you anticipate their next move? And can you be relevant? Trend number 3. Employee experience and organizational changes. Again, both Emil and Casper touched upon this, but I'm going to kind of illustrate it a little bit more also later in the presentation. Your employees are also customers and the other way around. Your employees will bring the customer experience demands into the workplace. They can no longer accept, they won't accept a poor IT infrastructure. They cannot or will not accept a siloed structure where you don't collaborate cross teams. They will have the best tools. They will have the best data transparency. They want you to talk to them and give them the right skills, the right tools, and the right collaborations in order to work effectively. And as we now know, again, in the pandemic and the lockdowns and the work from home situation we also see that LinkedIn is flooded with work announcements. It's becoming increasingly easy to switch vendors and switch jobs. And you as an employer need to actually take care of your customers by giving them the right skill set and the right tools. Regulatory changes, also something that affects us all. It affects us as a vendor, it affects our customers and their end users and customers as well. It's whether it comes down to data regulations when we send data across the Atlantic to the US, if it's Schrems 2, if it's e-privacy, if it's GDPR. We hear these acronyms, we hear these topics each and every day. We need to make sure that we have the foundation internally so that we can be transparent with our customers. We can show them where we use their data, how we use it, where we collect it. Can they control it? Can they delete it? And so on and so forth. Because if they don't trust us to trust us with their data, they will leave us. It's so easy to switch brands these days, so we need to be relevant, transparent, and honest. Do you have the right technology platform to support this? And do you have the right organization to support this? The ecosystem is changing. We all know that cookies has been the foundation of marketing and marketing automation, CRM, for 15 years now. Whether it's first party, third party, or the other versions of this, we want to be relevant but not creepy. We want to keep it secure and safe, and we want to be transparent with our customers. We all know for a fact that the third party cookie is crumbling, and we know that it is going away sooner rather than late. Recently, Google announced that they will postpone the complete deletion of the working third-party cookie a little bit more. So we have some headspace here. But bear in mind that this change is coming. And when we see our customers talking about this, we realize that many of our customers have been doing this for the past few years, and it just won't do. We need to act on it now, and we need to find technical solutions that support a different way of doing this. We need to find a cookie way of working or an ID way of working that is persistent and secure and that we can control and govern in a proper way. We cannot rely on third-party cookies for long, and first-party cookies is likely going in the same direction. Skills demand is also changing. We see this in the workplace. We have been used to collecting data at all touch points for several years, but just collecting data and storing it and kind of slicing and dicing it is not enough. We now need to have both the technical skills from our people in the organization and the technical capabilities from our platform to fill in the gaps, to make decisions based on all the data that we have. And we see that our customers are looking for the right resources to help them with this. We're also looking for the right technical platform to do this. And when we talk with our customers about this, what is making them lag behind or succeed, we see that technical innovation, we see that technical skill set and capabilities internally are the main drivers of actually blocking them from success. So they do need the best tools and the best people in order to achieve this. And last but not least, on the trend side, collaboration. And this has been mentioned before by the previous speakers, and I was really glad to hear that. We need to make sure that the IT department, the data scientists, the data marketing department, and all of the internal department needs to be able to speak together in one voice, one language, both physically, but also technically. They need to have the same foundation for the customer data in order to be exceptional, or else it won't work. So how do we at Adobe choose to solve this? So personalization at scale versus your siloed ecosystem. I'm going to repeat a little bit what previous speakers have said, but with a different kind of illustration here. Let's face it, customer experiences today are not good. Not great at all, actually. We collect data and communicate with our customers, and you collect data and communicate with your customers in so many different channels. We have digital channels, we have analog channels, we have physical stores, and so on and so forth. And the biggest challenge with this is that all of these different touch points sit on top of their own little data store. There is one set of database, profile store, segmentation rules, journeys, and also offer rules in each and every one of these different silos. And it might be that you have capabilities to have a really good marketing automation system so that your SMSs and your push messages and your emails are consistent. But what happens when this customer comes into the store? What happens when they call your call center? Can you keep this messaging going consistently across? And the experience that we have talking to our customers over the past few years is that this is definitely not the case. We are not connecting the dots. We are not sharing the data across these different silos. So this makes it an impossible task to have a one-to-one conversation with the customers. It's going to be one-to-one, but in each and every channel completely separately. And the main buzzword over the past years, and the reason that we have this event today, is we want to create a one-to-one exceptional customer experience in world class. But how do we do that? Is it even possible if we have this approach? Well, of course not. We throw in the next acronym in here, the CDP, and then all of the challenges magically goes away, right? Or how do we see this? So the common approach over the past few years, of course, if you're not looking into an experienced vendor that know how to compare and slice and dice this, you will end up in this situation. You implement your CDP in parallel with the rest of your stack. So if you previously had 15 different profile stores, 15 different segmentation engines, and 10 different offer engines. Now you will have one more. And if you don't implement it the right way with the right people and process, you will just have another source of truth and another way of communicating with your customers, the 15th way of having a one-to-one conversation. And as we see it, that just won't do. It won't work. It will only increase complexity. You will only waste money, time, and resources, and you won't make your customers happier, and you won't make your organization happier. So we need to be very, very focused on how to approach this. Both Emil and Casper touched upon this, and I would say we throw out the parallel or the vertical implementation of the CDP, and we place it centrally instead. So it should be a foundational data layer. And as we see it, we should actually consume and replace all of the different profile stores, offer engines, journey management engines, and segmentation rules, and consume them into one. So you have one set of rules. And eventually, if you succeed with this, you will have one truth for all of these different pillar building blocks, so to speak. But this is just a tool. It's still just a tool. Even though we call it Adobe Experience Platform, and it's not purely a CDP, but it will do what the CDP does, and then some. We will also need to adjust our processes, because the tool will only sit there and be as intelligent as you want it to be, and what fluid you put in the tank, so to speak. You will have people, managers, teams working in those disconnected silos. And how do you affect them in the best way to actually take leadership of this? Well, you need to move them also into cross-collaborative way of working. They need to work from a foundational database layer. They need to work on the platform layer. So when they do that, they can collaborate. They can make sure that all of the different kind of journeys and offers that were existent before are now replaced with one way of doing journeys, one way of doing segmentation, one way of doing offers, and one way of communicating. And whether you choose to have your own in-house marketing automation tools, email marketing systems, SMS channels, point of sales, whatever it is on top, or if you choose to put our bespoke solutions on top of the platform, we will be agnostic. But as a vendor, we see it like this. Put your people and process in the same place and make it foundational and central, and you will be able to actually have this customer experience in the next year, not in 2025, as many people are actually aiming for. And by that, I say thank you for your time, and I will move over to the panel.
Welcome, Andreas.
Tack.
So thank you for presentation, and very interesting. I have some questions. I guess maybe the audience also have some questions, so let's see. You mentioned that maybe, I mean, customers will demand more and more personalization and relevant messages and so on. Do you feel that the CDP is a possibility to be more competitive advantage, or is it like you need to have it?
Right now, I think that the CDP functionality is essential. Yes, it's not going to be possible for the future of our customers to actually to be coherent and consistent across all of the channels if you don't have a central view of the customer.
Mm-hmm.
And the CDP in the right way implemented would be a solution to that, definitely.
For all the time I worked, also in the IT industry and the solutions and so on, I believe it's very easy for organizations to blame problems on the system, right?
Yes.
Instead of the implementation of it or organization and so on. What do you see here? I mean, is it common that you do the implementation the way that you said you don't do it that way, the kind of separate?
We've seen it over and over, actually. And I think that the market is changing. But very often I see that you have a multitude of different stacks and you add the CDP as another stack, and you're just perpetuating the problem. You need to make sure that, like the other speaker said, you need to put it in a central place. You need to own the data and the profiles in that central place. If you have a multitude of profiles, you will have a diversified communication. It will not be world class. It will not be one-to-one. And
you have a lot of information all over the place.
Yes, it needs to sit in one place.
Okay. We talked earlier about best of breed and platform solutions and Adobe. I mean, you have a lot of solutions, right?
Yes.
Now we're talking about the business area, not the creative suites.
Correct.
Right? Maybe for you all, that is totally different things. But I mean, how do you sell the CDP platform? Is that a best of breed, or you can choose, or?
I think we're trying to diversify it just slightly and say that we sell the Adobe Experience Platform with CDP capabilities, because it sits as a foundation and it has its own data schema, and you can put several of our execution engines on top of it, whether it's CDP, it's marketing automation, it's journey analytics, or whatever it could be.
So the best value is if you go the Adobe way, so to say.
Well, of course,
Yeah.
I would lie.
I mean, from the
otherwise.
customer's point of view.
Yes,
Yeah.
but the
Is it-
experience platform as its core is API first. It has its own data schema, and you can actually connect any solution on top. There are benefits if you go the Adobe way, but we are kind of agnostic when we come to the platform layer.
Okay. And we talked about I asked Casper about who is the buyer, who should run this, who is the business owner of a system. What do you say there?
That's a fantastic question. I think he handled that brilliantly. And as I put it out on in the end of the both sections on my presentation, we need to find ways to collaborate, and that happens for our customers as well. IT needs to talk to the data scientists. The data scientists need to have a close connection with the marketing department. The analysts and the creative department also need to understand what the heck the other guys are doing. And if they don't have one common source of truth, they will still create different experiences across channels and different campaigns and so on. So when we speak platform with a customer, IT needs to be in the room, definitely. But if marketing is not there, they will not have a successful implementation. Because what happens when you have all this data and you don't know how to activate it in the proper way with the right creatives, for example? It needs to be a combined approach.
And what about customer service and sales, and should it be part of it, or?
I think that those will be, I would call those destinations of the data. So if they understand where the data is coming from and what it looks like and how to activate it, I think that would probably be enough. They perhaps don't need to understand the XDM data schema in the background. But well, if there are interested people, I've mentioned that in the skill gaps, of course. If you do understand the foundation, it's better, of course.
Okay. Daniel?
No questions.
No questions?
No.
Excellent.
Yeah, you're clear. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, okay, so now it's time for the next speaker, and we have the next speaker from distance, from Denmark, and that is the headline is "The Journey of Adopting CDP: Story from Tealium's Customer Tryg." Welcome, Martin.
Thank you so much.
Hello,
Yes,
everything is fine. You are Martin Winter, Senior Analytics and Marketing Developer at Tryg,
Yes,
Denmark.
that's right.
And
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You hear
That's
me?
lovely. Thank you. Yes, I work as a senior MarTech developer in Tryg Forsikring. And during the past 5 years or so, I've worked with choosing and implementing a CDP and building a number of initiatives within the CDP as well. I've structured this talk around things that we didn't necessarily think of as super important when we chose and implemented our CDP, but later learned actually were important and served as a foundation for some of our initiatives.
Okay.
I'll spice this list of 5 things up with real-world examples from cases of stuff that we built within the CDP, and hopefully that will make sense to you in a practical way as well.
Good. And for the audience not from Denmark, Tryg is an insurance company, right? Owner of the Swedish Tryg Hansa, correct?
Yes, amongst others.
amongst others, yeah. So you're kind of a
And we
global
also
company.
work in Norway and in Denmark, obviously, serving more than 2 million customers across Scandinavia.
Okay, and what is the brand in Norway?
It's Tryg Forsikring as well.
Okay, good. Stage is yours. Very happy to have you on
Thank you
board.
so much. So the first item I wanted to talk with you about that we didn't really think much of when we first talked with CDP vendors was real time. Some of the vendors we talked with told us that they supported real time data management, and my first thought was we're an insurance company. Our business processes would make the UN look like a race car. So why would we need real-time data processing? It later occurred to us that real-time really matters. Real-time is the processing of data within a fraction of a second. That means that from you get an input to the CDP until the CDP is ready with an output, no more than a fraction of a second should pass. And my argument is that at some point, real time will probably matter to you too. It might not from the get-go, but working with a CDP is by nature an explorative practice. You come up with ideas as you go along and as your business develops and as you get more advanced in your understanding of the possibilities you get with a CDP. So what might seem important to you from the start might not be the same as what's important to you once you've gotten to know your CDP. And at some point during that journey, some of the initiatives you might want to work with would be better or even be impossible if you don't have real-time capability. If you really want to work with real-time data processing, obviously it's important that the systems you send data to can handle data fast enough as well, because if you can't process data from your data sources in a real-time way, and if you can't process data in a fast enough in the systems that receive data, it doesn't really matter that your CDP can do it really fast if you can't handle data fast enough in the systems you connect to. I have some examples of this, as promised. The first one has to do with content targeting after authentication on customers' universes. Imagine this customer journey where a visitor enters a website to the left. He goes and sees some pages on a website, a series of 2 or 3 pages or whatever. And after that, the visitor will authenticate and log into a customer's universe where he can file claims or see his insurance and interact with them in various ways. And on the very first page after logging in, we might want to say something to that particular customer. The point here is that we wouldn't know what to say before we know who it is. And we only have one page load to make up our minds. And there are 2 schools of thought here. Either you upload the data to the CDP and have it sit there and wait. And if you do it like that, you can get around proper real-time data handling, because the data would sit there and be ready for the customer number to show up in the data stream, and it will just be stitched and paired, and you can show whatever you want to show on the front page of the customer's universe. But imagine that the input for this would be a predictive model. And for that predictive model, obviously, the stuff that went down prior to logging in would be an input to the model. So you can't just upload data to the CDP hours in advance, because hours in advance, the visit wouldn't be there on the web pages, right? And that's why that's one example of a case that simply isn't possible if you don't have a real-time capability within your CDP. Another, well, obviously what you don't want is this. Please wait while our batch-based marketing system finds the right advertisement for you. Is not what we're after here. We want to show something immediately, obviously. Another example has to do with automatic call routing. The business challenge in Tryg looks like this. This is the sort of the journey. It's not wrong to say journey. You go through, if you call Tryg Forsikring, you dial the number, you go through a voice menu, sort of press 1 for this, press 2 for that. It's up to 7 layers deep, so it's quite extensive to go through, or it can be at least. Then you ask for permission to record. You are asked for a satisfaction survey, which comes after your call, but it's introduced during your phone session. Lastly, you have to type in your social security number, and then your call is queued and connected to whatever agent you chose in the IVR. This process can be more than 3 minutes long. And obviously there's a huge drop-off during this process, right? And that drop-off is costing us sales, obviously, because some of the customers that call us because they want to buy something. And if we waste their time, that means a drop in sales. What you need to understand to sort of understand this case is that we have something we call call tracking. Call tracking means that we show a number that is dedicated to the visit on the website. So if you load the contact us page on our website, you would see this number flickering slightly as the page loads. And that's because we show you a number that is dedicated to you or to your visit. And if you call this number, obviously we would know that the call you just made came from this particular visit. Now imagine this visit. We have someone who visits us from a paid search advertisement for Bilforsikring. He then goes to see 3 product pages, does a price calculation for car insurance, and then makes a call during on one of these track numbers. The question now is, do we really need to waste 3 minutes of this customer's time asking what he wants to talk with us about? Or could we maybe make some assumptions around the subject that he wants to talk with us about? The point is this. What we're actually doing here is that we take data from this visit, and as you make the call, we transfer information to the telephone system saying what happened during the visit, so that the telephone system can make an educated decision as to how to route this call. The point here is that since we don't have any data before the visit starts, and since the trigger for the entire process is the call on the number, and right after that call, the visitor will end up in a phone system, and we will have to make a decision as to where this customer needs to go. Well, good luck making this work if you don't have real-time capability, because it's just too late if you have to wait 5 minutes to make this happen. And we think this process, we are not entirely done building it, but it appears to work. We think this process will save us a huge amount of money in drop-offs from our telephone voice menu. And we also think it will have a real impact on our customer satisfaction. So we're really, really keen to see this working. Obviously, this wasn't something that we thought about. It's quite advanced. It is not something that we thought about when we first entered or signed up with a CDP. Like everyone else, we were thinking about content targeting and marketing feedback loops and such. But once we got to know our CDP, this was a case that came up. And the point is, it wouldn't be possible if we didn't have real-time capability. So my advice would be don't limit yourself on that one. Right. As disclosed already, a CDP can do more than you might think of when you first sign up with it. I call this second bullet more than card reminders and content targeting. And I have some examples of stuff you can do with a CDP. One thing we do a lot, obviously we are an insurance company, so we are quite good at predicting behavior and risk and so on. Actually, And insurance is really a predictive model. That's all there is to it. So as an insurance company, traditionally, we're quite good at making models. It's one of the things we do well. So we make predictions about customer behavior as well. And what we see is when we first start with a model that works with online data, what we typically do is to try to predict what a particular customer is after as he enters the website. And as he moves further and deeper with it into the website, and as we identify the customer and is able to stitch on data about the customer profile, we can make better predictions about what the customer wants. So he might be up to buying something, he might be up to some service-related tasks around billing questions, cover adjustments and whatnot, or he might want to make a claim or some fraud, possibly, or he might want to do other things. This will be sort of the first version of a model typically that works with online data. It's around predicting what the user wants. The second level would be figuring out what would be the cheapest way for us to help the customer succeed with whatever it is he's doing. He might want to do it online through self-service, or we might want to push him onto a service channel like the phone, or we might want him to not do it, and so on and so forth. And the sort of third level of maturity for a predictive model is to make a prediction for the interaction we would like to have with this customer to try to nudge him towards whatever it is we want to do. The point here is that you can't deploy a model that does this directly onto the website because it doesn't really do anything. It just makes a prediction about the user task. Question is, what do we want to do about it? And that's where the CDP takes over. So even though we only have a model that's working on this level, we can still use it thanks to a CDP. As the prediction ticks into the CDP, we can have some rules that sort of take over the rest of the decision process and choose a piece of content for the customer that would nudge him in whatever direction we please. This is a sort of a use case that we didn't really think of when we first started with CDPs. So it's sort of opened up to us that you can do more than we would think. Now the second example is around feedback loops for marketing channels. Imagine a sort of a classic web shop that sells shoes or whatever. You go search for shoes on Google, you get an ad, you click the ad, and you end up in the shoe web shop, and hopefully for the web shop, you end up buying something. And traditionally on this thank you page, you would have a script that feeds data back into Google saying, something nice happened, get me more of that, please. And you probably know this as marketeers. It's called a feedback loop, and this is something you do basically more or less every day. The thing is, with us, the journey is typically slightly different. We sell most of our insurance through the phone. So you would get the ad, you would visit the website, and at some point you would call us. And it's slightly more difficult to get that working because you can't, this is not a very good environment to fire off JavaScript. This woman doesn't support that. But what we can do is to feed sales data back into a CDP. And with the click ID we got from clicking the ad, we can feed that sales data back into Google and let Google know that something nice happened. So we can actually use real sales data to better optimize Google ads and Facebook ads and our DMP as well to run better advertising. This process, it looks fairly simple when you simplify it like this, but actually there are a lot of moving parts. I won't go through it, but it takes a bit of thought to get it working. The results we got was we could track 4 times as many conversions as we could before doing this. And obviously, when you track 4 times more conversions, you also become better at optimizing your ads, because the 25% we had before obviously had bias. It was mostly the online purchases we tracked. And well, people that buy online are different from the people that buy on the phone, obviously. So we would tend to optimize our advertising in a certain direction that didn't actually reflect the real business value. We now track both online and offline conversions, obviously, and this method is far less prone to ad blockers and cookie issues, because it partly functions with PII data, email and customers' numbers and so on and so forth, data that you give as you interact with the website. And this is hugely important to the brand where I made it, because they get around a third of all their traffic from paid search advertisements. So this will actually impact the bottom line of that brand, I think, over time. Right. So the third point I have for you has to do with a classic discussion within IT. It's the best of breed versus single vendor discussion, which is relevant to working with a CDP and choosing a CDP as well. The best of breed versus single vendor discussion has to do with whether or not you should choose a tool that does particularly well for the case that you have in question, and then integrate it with the rest of your IT stack, or if you should look at the bigger picture and choose a vendor that does well for the entire space. It's called the single vendor approach. Single vendor, classic single vendor vendors are vendors such as Oracle and IBM and Microsoft and so on. Not all of them do CDP or have CDPs, obviously, but you would have a similar approach within the marketing space as well. These pros and cons are, well, they are classic. It's something you can Google your way to, and you will probably find the same points that I copy pasted for this slide. So there's really no need to go through it. The point is mostly that if you go for a best of breed approach, you will most likely get a more agile environment, but it'll be slightly more complex to manage contract-wise as well as technically. And the businesses you interact with will most likely be smaller businesses, so they will be a bit more prone to changes in ownership. But the flexibility you get from going this way sort of weighs up for that in some people's view, at least. My point is that when you work with a CDP, you work with a tooling, or you work within a space that doesn't have a whole lot of maturity to it, both in terms of your knowledge of what you want to do, but also in terms of the maturity of the marketplace. And for that reason, because you want to work in an explorative way, you would want to go for the best of breed approach, because in that way you will stay agile. The downside of that is that you will have a more complex system landscape, and it'll be harder for you to get help if you need it, because your system landscape will be unique to you. Right. The fourth point has to do with organizing your work around the CDP. When we first started, we were very much focused on the technical sides of things, and not very much focused on how we actually wanted to work with this. And we made some discoveries along the way. We go with a hub and spoke approach. It's not entirely centralized, but it's also not entirely decentralized. The approach is that we work with a centralized team that take user requests or requests from the business units as they come in, but the ownership of the platform is with the the business unit, and they have an absolute mandate as to what goes on within the platform. The pro for decentralization is that you get closer to the end users and you're more attuned to the business needs, but you end up with a messy platform. If you sort of just buy a CDP and throw it in the business and anyone can do whatever they want, what you'll see after 5 minutes is that the inside of the CDP will be a complete mess, as messy as this is. Basically, you will get this on the inside of your CDP as well. It's also risky because no one really knows what the totality of things that goes on within your CDP is. And from a legal and stability perspective, that might be slightly risky. And it will be prone to changes in staffing because each business unit will typically only afford one person working with this. And no one will truly excel because no one has the time to actually sit down and work with it full time. The hub and spoke approach is more tidy. Use cases and best practice can transfer easily between business units, and you will get a centralized competence that has a potential for further specialization as they staff up. But I have to actively seek out interactions with the business units, or I will slowly become disconnected and lose touch. And I have little or no mandate over what goes on within the CDP. I can only advise. Right. One question that I hear from time to time is, what sort of skills do you need to work with a CDP? And as I see it, this is sort of the wish list. It's typically split in two around here. So you need a former online marketeer that knows how online marketing works. It could be a website manager, could be a PPC guy, or it could be a CRM manager, for example. And you need an outreaching, talkative kind of guy that can work within this hub and spoke setup and keep in touch with all the business units and sort of try to push out best practice approaches to working with a CDP. And then you need someone who's technically adept, a developer type of sorts, and someone who knows how data production in an online environment works. And you need to understand the business and its technical landscape. And typically you would see this as one person and this as another person. And if you only have one, then you go for the top rows, and the technical stuff is something you can buy yourself into with the help of consultants. Right. My fifth advice is really short. It's get cracking. When we started working with CDPs, we tended to sort of plan out all our initiatives, and first we want to do this, and then we want to do that, and so on and so forth. And working with the CDP, as I mentioned, is explorative by nature. So you don't necessarily know what's good and what's bad and what's worth working with before you actually do it. And you also don't know how much time it takes. So building complex plans like this simply won't work. What you really need to put some thought into is choosing the right CDP. But once you've done that, what you really need to do is to get cracking and start exploring. Thank you.
Thank you. Martin, welcome. Thank you very much for your presentation and all your experience in sharing that. I have some questions. I know also the audience have that. So let's ask you this. Are you using the system for all the different brands or all countries?
Yes, we are. Well, not Sweden. Sweden was acquired quite recently, so they are not onboarded. But there's an exciting dialogue going.
Okay, so that's the plan.
See where that lands. But Norway and Denmark has been using it for years and years with quite some success.
And like Swedes, we are always like, no, did you do that in Denmark? We need to understand it from. It's always like invented in Sweden, then we go for it. So you have a challenge maybe. Yeah, but what about the business value? I mean, you mentioned lower cost in customer service. Do you see any increased sales from this?
Oh yes. It's actually it's quite a while back that was really something we had any critical dialogue about, because well, the first thing we built was some shopping cart reminders, or actually yes, shopping cart reminders, and once we calculated the value of those few things that we built within, I think, the first 3 months or so, it showed that it actually paid for the entire installation, our tag manager as well, actually, and my salary. So it was, and after that, no one really bothered to ask what the value of a CDP was, because we could just show that case.
Okay.
And obviously, we built many more things after that.
Yeah. Okay, Daniel, questions from the audience?
Yeah, Martin, we have a question here. In your view, what is the main function of a CDP? Is it stitching, data formatting, or other?
It's identity resolution in real time from the online space, and stitching on data from other channels. Those are the two key items. So really, we see it halfway as an sort of a rules engine that works in real time, that sort of identifies who this visitor is in terms of customer profiles, and then identifies what should go down for this particular customer during his visit.
Okay. Any more questions?
No.
No. Okay. Martin, we will meet you and also Thomas from Tealium in the after the break in the panel discussion. So see you soon again. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Bye.
Bye bye. And now it's time for a break. And after the break, you will meet Åsa Appelqvist, the last presenter, presenting her experiences from implementing a CDP at ESS Group. And before that, we have a panel discussion that will be very interesting. And prepare and send in questions for that too. I have a lot of questions prepared already, but your questions are more important. So see you soon again. 10 minutes break. Have a nice break. Welcome back again. And I mean, all these breaks, but I think it's good. When actually, we got comments from earlier online events that we need to have some more breaks because you get a little bit tired about watching a TV show for so long time. Okay. I'm still remember this 85% of 200 people in the audience that say we have not a CDP today. So it's like 170 new customers. Are you planning to celebrate tonight, or?
Sending out the contract later.
Okay. So good. And Martin and Thomas from Tealium, we have both of you with us, or?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, good.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome also Thomas Lee from Tealium. We haven't met you before, but now we meet you. Good. I have some questions here. I start with Emil, actually. And of course, you send in questions. We have Daniel, not you don't see him, but he's a kind of a ghost voice. So he will tell us the questions. How mature do you see the market is, both from the vendor and from the buyer side?
So from a vendor perspective, I mean, the vendors in the market, they are quite mature in the sense that they are established in US, UK, or selling in Asia. But in Sweden or in the Nordic markets, I would say it's quite, or it's very immature with the CDP still. There are a few companies that have implemented it and starting to use it, but I think the vendors and companies as Millton and ourselves, we still have a job to do to educate to really get through with the business value of a CDP.
And how come that we are behind? Is that because we're small countries with kind of that not that large customer database?
Yeah, and it's usually the trends come from US, UK, and then into Sweden and the Nordics in that sense. So it has happened with a lot of different or other platforms as well, I would say. And of course, I mean, for the vendors, the larger markets maybe are more interesting to start with as well, just from the volume and the amount of customer data you have.
Okay, good. Casper, if you're going to start a CDP project, what is the most important things to have in place?
That's a
Before
good
you
question. I think there's definitely a need to understand why is it that you want a CDP. So look at what are your objectives within, not only from a business perspective but also departmental objectives, and then try to align that with the use cases or the challenges that you want to solve, the use cases that you want to build, the organization that you have. And I'm not saying that you're gonna go out and say, okay, now we have all of this planned and then we start looking at a CDP, but it's at least something that you need to start from and scale from. And then start investigating what is right for you.
Okay.
So I would say that's the.
Yeah.
And again, find something that builds a foundation for you around your organization, around your priorities, and then think of something that's not only out for the first year or so, but also think 5-6 years ahead, and how is it going to look for you in regards to customer data and in regards to what you want to do with your business.
That's a good point. And if you'd like to add something, or Thomas, Martin, just raise your hand. I know that Daniel, you have a question from the audience?
That's correct. We have a question regarding regulation, and the question is, in terms of GDPR and the CDP's possibility for data stitching, is it legal to gather data from, for instance, advertisements and later stitch it together with the identified record once they have become a customer?
That was a long question. So anyone like to answer?
It's personal data. You need to consider GDPR, of course, and different companies interpret it differently. But really, the tracking that you set up in connection with the CDP is based a lot of on consent management. So once you start once you have a customer has given a consent that you're allowed to track for, and like as the cookies can be set up, it can be for different purposes, marketing, analytics, and so on. So usually, you control the tracking with a CDP from a given consent.
Okay.
I think also this is where the point where a CDP is really strong, because it helps build your governance around your data. So you ensure not only that you have the right consent, but that you're also tracking on the right places. And there will of course be the more walled gardens that are closing off for certain things. But if you're bringing in data from outside or contact visitors from outside, you can track that as long as you get the right consent, and then start using that in your unification.
Then suddenly I start to understand that maybe CDP is a very important platform if you're going to have a good GDPR process and structure. And
Definitely.
Yeah, it will help you to be compliant, I would say.
Yeah.
okay, good. Okay, Andreas, what systems is it relevant to integrate with if you're implementing a CDP? We mentioned that, we talked about already, right?
Yeah, we did. Well, that's quite interesting because I try to be, from a vendor perspective, agnostic towards what system to connect. But if you are starting out your CDP journey, I would say look at the systems that bring you the highest return of investment right now. What's most important to you? Because doing a proper CDP project is going to take time, effort, and money. And the more you can get from the first year back, the better. So I would probably say that CRM is the richest data that you probably have. So start with that to build a rich profile, not the complete profile, but a rich profile. And then look at your marketing automation system so that you can activate the data as effectively as possible so you can get your money back. And then you kind of grow that out into your different systems.
Good comment. And Thomas, do you agree with that? I mean, what is the low-hanging fruits that you should start with? Of course, it's easy to have the high ambition when you start a project, but maybe you should face it and say, this is phase 2. What do you...
Well, as Martin said in his presentation, you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes you get surprised. But I think the lowest hanging fruit must be, of course, thinking a little bit about the why. You're going into this, Emil mentioned about start with a few use cases, and really do the business value assessment around it. So we as vendors, we can help you drive or carry out a business value assessment based on our experience. So you can start prioritizing these use cases that you might set sail to. But I would say the very low-hanging fruit, even prior to ending up implementing a use case, must be just as an organization implementing that process of actually finding purpose for your data, building that structure, finding what, blind spot was mentioned, finding those blind spot, what is it that you don't know and what can you use that for? So the whole process of starting the piping and orchestrating of all the incoming data and the silos that you have, getting that profile view is a big benefit. Just knowing the data that you have and put that into some kind of order is a big benefit and low-hanging fruit going into this. And we are even talking about before you're launching use cases that drives value in form of revenues or more customers or whatever the KPIs are. So the data foundation, the purpose of your data is the lowest hanging fruit. And that's the way you need to start thinking of it as well.
Good. And when you say business value assessment, is that kind of doing the business case before you start a project?
Yeah, so again, asking the why, you want the CDP that's typically tied to some kind of a use case or some KPIs that you have. How do you achieve that? Whether it's, shopping cart reminders, as Martin mentioned, or whether it's driving shorter time to service through a call center, whatever it might be. What's the value to you as an organization? Is it, I'm saving a lot of money handling data to actually get there? I'm saving time. Am I getting more revenues? All that kind of things, we can help you assess that so you can start your prioritization for best return on investment and quickest time to value.
And of course, also important tool to sell this into the organization and get the approval to start.
Absolutely. So it's crucial that you have sponsorship. The management team must be with you on this here. Of course. This is a little bit what I say as well. It's not so interesting for a CEO to understand that the CTR rate has increased 0.2%. It doesn't mean anything to them. It's much more interesting to look at real metrics that matters. So cost savings, uplift in revenues, and those kind of things. And you get to those numbers if you do proper business value assessment on what you're thinking to achieve.
Yep. Good.
One thing to add on that, I think, as it's been mentioned as well, the importance of the use case will tie in what is it that you want to do, how can you measure it, what kind of resources need to be involved, and thereby also what kind of data do we need to bring in. And that might be that you bring in data from a source that you originally hadn't thought about. Yeah. That really completes the use case in the best possible way and makes it possible to scale for.
Yeah. Good. Martin. I know you were into the organizational part, but what is your experience around how to organize work? Is it possible to go into a little bit more depth there?
Yes, absolutely. As mentioned, we go with sort of a centralized center of excellence, small team that works with the CDP. We have one brand that works with it differently, where it's more democratized, and they basically acquired the CDP and just threw it in there, it's sometimes hard to see a direction of their work. It's hard to find standards within the platform, and I really think it's not the best approach. So I would definitely recommend working with a CDP from sort of an expert approach, organizing it around a few people that really dig into to things around the CDP, and then work with each business line.
Okay, good. What about Emil? Is it possible to say something about who is it not for? I mean, I don't want to ask the vendors there because it's everyone.
It's for everyone, right? You can sell it to everyone.
They're going to kill you afterwards. But
yeah, exactly. So I need to be nice here, right? No, but I would say, of course, it comes with the volume of data, the number of data sources you have, the complexity of the data you're gathering. So, the smaller you are in that sense, the more the comparison to integrate something directly compared to a CDP might be like the value there. Of course, it's a scale. So like if you don't have that many data sources, that data volume and that complexity in your data structure, maybe you can connect one platform or two platforms directly to your marketing automation platform, and then the value of a CDP decrease, of course. Of course, you will lack some functionalities, but maybe if you're on that size, you can live with that.
Okay, good. Andreas, how long does a CDP project take to implement?
My favorite answer: it depends. you can't say.
No,
you should allocate months at least, but depending on the size. And we're talking in the break here about the big enterprises of the Nordics, and that might be half a year, 1 year, 2 years. So plan ahead and talk to the experts before you actually allocate the budget and so on. It's going to take some time and effort.
Okay.
It is fairly complex.
And Thomas, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I mean, we have implemented many CDP projects. I would say when we start talking to our prospects, we typically tell them that you can get up and running. In other words, get the data foundation set up, the tracking, the stitching, the activation channels connected and everything. 2 to 3 use cases is realistic for Tealium in the first 90 days, is what we see as kind of a rule. There's of course, as mentioned here, projects that takes even longer. But in the Nordics, what I've experienced is approximately 90 days, you're up and running end to end.
Okay. Is that also including integration with other systems, or?
Yeah, so this is again that kind of 3-step approach. You are analyzing what data points do you need to fulfill your use cases and getting those data connected, collections and standardized and piped into the CDP in the way it has to be. Then of course you need to think about where does the data go. So this is the configuration of data destinations, whether this is email marketing, paid media, whatever it might be. And then you have things in the middle, which is where I would say the magic happens, things that determines where your audience or segments, how they should behave, what determines that Thomas falls in and out of an audience and stuff like that. So the business rules, we call them attributes, what they should be looking like, the business logic here. So that end to end, I would say if you allocate 90 days, you're up and running with 2 to 3 use cases by that time.
Okay. And I mean, I'm very happy that we actually have representations from both best of breed, but also kind of suite solutions, because it's pros and cons with both, and it's up to you, I believe, what is the right one for you as a company to understand. So definitely, I think it's worth digging into. And also, I believe that it's important to look into the future of the vendors and that they are going the right track that you believe in and prefer and so on also, because you're going to live long together with them. And I think that is positive. Okay, so Casper, how do you see the future role of the CDP and the tech stack? That's a good
question. No, I touched a little bit on it in my presentation as well. I think the role of the CDP will be more and more vital in the overall architecture, not only the MarTech side of things. I think the tech stack will be more and more complicated. There's going to grow in data sources and application, and you want to tie them together across all of your contexts and identities. But that's also why the CDP becomes so important, because it can manage that data foundation, those integration skills that kind of comes with it, or capabilities, and it can kind of connect the organization as well, as I touched a little bit on. So that's why we talk about this customer data cloud, because it is essentially something where the CDP plays a vital role in building one team that works toward one experience for the customer.
And if someone don't really understand the tech stack, could you just explain quickly what that is?
Yeah, if we look at the tech stack, you will have your marketecture, as we kind of say, where you have your real-time personalization engines, your marketing automations, and so on. But there is an additional layer where you also have tech stacks that includes your CRM, your DMP maybe still to a certain extent, your data warehousing that also plays a part. And then maybe you have some legacy transactional data that you also want to bring into into it. So that's why that when you bring in the whole architecture of your business, it can be complex for you when you dig into all of these different data sources, and that's where the CDP really is built to connect those around customer data, at least, and of course drive towards the experience that you're creating for your customers.
I mean, in terms of tech stack, now we're getting a little bit away from CDP, but I saw once matrix that was pretty nice of different functions, and then you can plot in the systems that solve that kind of function or did the function for it. Is that relevant to have for a company?
Yeah, I think that is good to have like an holistic overview, of course, if that's what you mean with to see what are they doing and how is it working, and to add in, like, I think the CDP is a hub and a foundation to make you become less dependent of all the others, not in terms of functionality, but you can replace and change. And what if you see that the development are going in one direction, then you can switch that type of channel, but you still have all the data and the structure of your data, and quite probably very easy to integrate towards the CDP as well, or if they are already integrated, as many of them pre-built integrations and maintained integrations.
Good.
Also think that some global companies will have different, let's say marketing automation tools across different countries. So in Denmark, they might be using a marketing cloud, and then they use a HubSpot in Italy or something like that. And you still want to be able to use the CDP to orchestrate all of that from one place, because you create the data foundation, and you create the unification of the data in one place.
Gosh, Daniel, I start to believe in these guys now. We need to have a CDP Advanced Relations also. We need to buy one immediately. So, exactly. And of course, support there. Anyone want to comment quickly? We have 1 last minute. Thomas, Martin, you in the studio.
I think
maybe just a comment on the future of CDP. There's probably people on the guest list that have already implemented, like Martin, of course, but what's sort of the next thing of CDP? So here at Tealium, we hear, of course, a lot about machine learning, and have also tapped into this space. So I think models predicting things and stuff like that, of course, will become part of this here. So not only being able to give a certain business rule and expect some outcome is the job of the CDP. It's also to either respect models that you bring to us as a CDP, or even models that you can compute within the CDP space as well. I think that's going to be increasing in importance. And maybe one final thing, which we haven't discussed too much today, I think just the what's happening in the industry around analytics and data.
Yeah, we are a little bit behind now, so we do a quick thing there.
Yeah, so the plumbing, getting data to and from places, not only serving them back out to your customers, but also how do you as an organization plumb yourself better? So Casper there mentioned the data warehouses. Lots of our customers are asking us questions. How do we get clean and correlated data back into our data warehouse? Because that's where our analysts and stuff like that wants to work, and they lack the real time. They don't get the data. It's all batch and stuff like that. So this is a use case in itself that doesn't necessarily talk to the end customer, or giving the data back to the end customer, something a CDP can also help with.
Good. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, all of you, to be part of the panel. And now we time for the last presentation. So very interesting to welcome actually Åsa Appelqvist from ESS Group, the head of CRM and Insights. Do we have Åsa with us?
Now I'm here. Hi.
Hello. Now
Hi.
I see you too. Nice.
Yeah.
How are you?
Today. I'm fine, thank you. Couldn't be with you in Stockholm today, sadly, but I'm going to do my best from Gothenburg.
Yeah, that's a nice city too. You have sunny weather, I guess, and
it's always sunny here.
It's always sunny. Sometimes it's raining from below and upwards. That's
yeah.
never actually. That's true. But
Yeah.
I'm so jealous because you have such a nice spa hotels and all that you're running around to and just check them all the time, right?
Of course,
Of
we
course.
spend the entire weeks spawing and relaxing. No,
Different
it's
offices.
been quite 2 rough years with the COVID and trying to
Yeah.
survive, I would say. But it's been fairly good for us, so we're happy today, and even more happy to stand here and talk to you. Even it's hard to take the stage after these talented people, so I'm just going to do it from the
Yeah,
other
but
side of the fence, from the customer side, I would say.
yeah, and very important. There's so many, as we saw in the beginning, that are not have a CDP yet, but will
No,
plan for. So welcome on stage. It's all yours.
thank you so much. I'm going to start with this line. To do it all, we had to know it all. And it sounds like quite a huge mission. But at S Group, we are always striving to get happy returning customers. So I would say in this industry that we are in, it's necessary to know it all about our customers. Let me just see if I can flip this also. Yeah. Okay. Just a brief moment who I am. I am the head of CRM and insights at S Group. I have spent mainly most of my career in the event and experience industry. I've been to the travel agency business, amusement park, Liseberg. I guess many of you know of. I have been in the entertainment industry, and now I am in the hotel industry. And if you're familiar with this industry, you know that, of course, we do sell a product, of course. But what we more sell is an experience. And with that comes expectations and anticipations. So I always chose to talk about this word because it's such a ground for us, and it's also the ground for why we need to know as much as possible about our customers. So the definition of anticipation is, as you can read, I'm just going to scroll down here, a feeling involving joy at the thought of a supposed or anticipated good upcoming event. And that is the main thing, because you sell something now, a product that the person can't feel or touch at the moment. And then after a couple of weeks, a couple of months, or even a couple of years, you are able to actually get a hold of that product when you work in this industry. So of course, the only thing the customer knows is what to expect. And how are we even going to meet that or exceed that expectation if we don't know as much as possible? So as you can hear, for this industry, but for many industries as well, it's so important to start collecting that data and do something of it, because the customer today demands it. A brief moment about S Group. I reckon not many of you know S Group. We are a small hotel chain, as Mats said. But Mats, we do have hotels in Sweden, Norway, and Denmark. And as of yesterday, we are now situated in Spain as well. So today we have 12 different hotels. Our hotels is not only a bed, no. What we do sell is moments of happiness. We want you to stay at least 2 nights in our hotels because there are so many things to do. We have paddle, we have spa, we have beaches, you name it. The feeling when you're leaving a hotel within the S Group is you have to come back because I did miss something or I didn't have the time to do everything. That is what we are aiming for. So 12 hotels today. And one of our big problems or challenges along this road is just the fact that we have 12 completely different brands that stands for themselves. They don't go under the name S, they go under their specific own name. I'm going to talk about that in the future. To name a few hotels, we have up in the left corner, Ellery Beach House in Stockholm. In the right corner in the top, we have Steam Hotel in Västerås. Down below in the left corner, we have Marienlyst in Denmark, Helsingør. And to the right in the corner, we have Fyri in Hemsedal in Norway. And this is our newest baby. It's called JC's and it opens in November in Gothenburg. And it's kind of that we bring Las Vegas to Gothenburg. So please come visit. Okay, I had to write it down that data is queen and of course it's king. but that is mainly what we're here to talk about today, because since the beginning of time, people have been striving to collect things, and S is no worse than that. Many years ago, we started collecting data in a data lake, different data sources, different data points, and try to merge these customers together. But it wasn't that easy. But we realized that if we have the data, we are eventually going to know more about our customers, and that is going to gain us both, because the more we know about our customer, the more we can adjust the product to the customer, the more we can speak in the right time, in the right channel with our customer. And also that's going to make us get more happy customers. And as I said, we want them to come back over and over again. So for us, early data is king and queen. But of course, it was kind of blurry in the beginning. We stored all that data, we gathered it together, couldn't get one profile of the customer. It was a mess, I would say. So we started to thinking, how can we do this even better? I would say this was about 1.5 years ago. The data lake we had was good, but it couldn't structure the data. We kept adding data sources, I don't know, on a weekly basis. And also when we thought about the future, this is going to be our daily basis routine. There's going to be new social media channels, new sources. We're going to sell our hotels in different channels. We need a solution that we can work with for several years forward. This is a quick glimpse on how the data structure looked at S Group then. It's nothing you need to take a deeper look in, but many sources already 2 years ago, and even as today, there are, I would say, probably the double amount of sources with data points. So messy. We understood that we needed a CDP eventually with the help of some talented persons at a company that you have seen today. And for IT, the guys at S who worked with data and insights and marketing automation, we could all understand it, but this was such a huge investment for us. So we started to writing down the whys. What do we want to achieve? And I think it was Thomas who said it before, that it's crucial to write down what you want to achieve and what are we aiming for, because not only to celebrate when we get there, but it's such a huge project, and you need to have not everything settled maybe, but as much as possible. And we took a look at our KPIs. We looked at the organization. What can we do? How much are we able to handle? Because we aren't a huge organization. And the things we wrote down and told the organization to make this investment was, of course, gain a complete understanding of our customers, not only what we can see in the transactions in a single shot, or online behaviors in a single shot, or interacting with our guest service team. We wanted to get a complete understanding. Of course, we wanted to look more at the segmentation, because those days are over when we send everything to everybody. We want to act more on behaviors and see what customers should get what information. Behavior is also something that we took deep consideration of. Increase customer lifetime value. Of course, everybody wants to get that. And the product we work with, I would not say that we can have customers for their entire lifetime, but almost. So increase customer lifetime value, important for us. Manage multiple channels simultaneously. Back again to where we were before. We used email marketing, SMS marketing, paid, and so on in standalone single channels and solutions. We could not connect those channels together and make them act on behavior. Gather data from multiple sources in one place and get more secure customer data, because we did have this data lake and we were pretty satisfied with that. But as we reckoned, there were several sources coming up along the road, not every day, but once in a while. We needed to have a solution that was secure also. We did have some incidents with our data lake, so the CDP sound more secure. The last view is optimize strategies to reach our customers with the right content at the right time in the right channel. And that is mainly what it's all about. As of today, where the customers are being hunted down with so many messages each day, we wanted to say, as Emil said before, if we do get your personal information, we're going to assure you that we're not only going to send you just the right information. When I send you the information you might not even know that you want. And that is our mission as a company today, to make sure that we treat that personal information with respect. So about a year ago, we started working with implementing the CDP, and it got a bit more clear, I would say. And as of today, we don't have it all clear yet. It's only been a year, and we're constantly learning. But what we have today is a really nice 360 picture of our customer. That means we have the on-site behavior, we have the transactional information, we have the reservations, you do reserve a hotel room. We do have how you interact with our marketing activities. We do have how you talk to our customer service. And again, yes, we want to strive for happy returning customers. We also put that NPS score that you might leave in the evaluation when you leave our hotels, added to your profile. So a really good full view of the customer today. And this is the base and the ground, and such a good base to be able to do marketing, both data-driven and behavioral. And that is necessary for the future. Were there any challenges along the road? Oh, yes, there were. Not at least the organization. What kind of resources do we need? Trying to get the organization to understand it's not just a tool that we're implementing. It's a whole new way of how we work, how we set up our campaigns, how we talk to our the people who the hotels who want us to market their hotels. It's such a big process that also needs to run along this implementation of a CDP. And at the same time, we implemented a marketing automation tool. But the challenges also that I just want to give to you, we are 11, as of yesterday, 12 different hotels, and they all have different brands, needs, and target groups. So it's like marketing 12 different companies. And also the setup in a CDP, how are they going to act in regards to each other? If a customer has visited 2 hotels, to which hotel does that customer belong? Also kind of messy. We also need 12 different, like I said, email forms, 12 different journey. It's a mess to have so many different brands in one CDP and a marketing automation tool. We are also a product seldom bought. It is not what we like, and that is one thing we are trying to change with this work. But it's a long time between repurchase. So with the communication and how long are we going to store the customer to be sure that we can use the data and act on it in a correct way. Also some difficulties with that. The product, as I said, is bought now and consumed in the future. And that is also something that is different. If you buy a sweater from a store, you buy it now, you put the order and it's done. When you order something from us, you buy it. During the time until you arrive at our hotels, you have the possibility to cancel, of course. You have the possibility to add things to your upcoming stay. You have the possibility to change the arriving day. All these kind of marks through the guest journey creates tons of problems, not for me, but for our guy who works with data science. So also a kind of different product when it comes to comparing with retail or something like that. And of course, we have struggled along the road. Which data do we really need? Because there is no achievement in collecting all data. It's not necessary. If we don't need a data point, we ain't going to put it in the system. And of course, how are all these different data points that might look different going to act together in a sweet symphony in our CDP? So again, lots of challenges along the road, but also at the same time, so much and so good for the organization to learn how to talk to our customers in the right way. Of course, you need to measure things, because our CFO came to me the other day and say, hey, how much is this costing, and have we gained anything at it yet? And we like to celebrate this. We like to celebrate when we reach those often hard goals. So what we set down also in this journey with the organization was a couple of measure points that we are following on a daily basis. And again, they are connected to our KPIs and how we're going to look better in the future. So what we want to achieve is, of course, increase returning customers and reduce the lead times. And by that, I don't mean the number of days until you arrive. I mean the number of days between. Since we are a seldom bought product, we want to shorten that, of course. We also want to increase spend. Which company doesn't want to do that? I hope you like us anyway. And we don't want to increase the spend overall. It's just in a matter of time between when you have bought the product and until you arrive. Because if we're able to talk to the customer in the right way, when he or she wants us to talk to him, we think that it's going to benefit both him and us in the future. Lower CPA, we are looking into how we can sell a room with more cost efficient. And if we know our customer, and if we have more identified users or customers, who is the last bullet point, we think this is gonna be a more cost efficient way to market us and sell those rooms in the end. And we have only been up and running ish for 4 months, but what we can see now is that we have shortened the lead times with 67 days between the purchase. And this is such a huge achievement for us. So I will definitely celebrate that next week or another week. And we have also increased the upsell with 62% during these 4 months. So okay, we might be going into a crisis, and I'm not sure what's going to happen with these figures then. But again, it's such a good example for that. This is a good investment for us, and it's going to be even better in the long term. So a quick summary from our journey. S primary goal is to make people want to come back to us. It doesn't matter where you work at S Group. It doesn't matter which department, or if you are a IT consultant or wherever. Everything we do should come back to this. Make people want to come back to us. Our product has to be that good, of course, when you do arrive. But the thing that we haven't considered before we started this project is that we also have to talk to the customer before they arrive and after they arrive in a more relevant way. So what we believe in is, if we gather the right data, the more we know, the more relevant we can be, and the more credible we become. Because in the future, the companies that are credible will be the one who survives. A company that is credible becomes trusted to consumer. The stronger the relationship between us becomes, and the more loyal our guests remain. And loyal guests hopefully will keep coming back. So we know as much as possible about our guests. We store all that data in a CDP. We use our marketing automation tool to talk to you in the right channel, in the right time, with the right product. And by that, we will be a reliable company and trustworthy that you will come back to in the end. That is our journey, a quick and rapid, and I don't have all the facts about the integration or the implementation, but if you do want to talk about this road and the KPIs, or what to achieve or what to expect, and the difficulties we had during this journey, I would say it's all worth it. We're standing here with a fantastic 360 view of our customer, and it's our task to use that in the right way now, the marketing team and the sales team at S Group. So we will say high five, and thank you for your time, and good luck with your upcoming journey, or if you're in a present one.
Thank you, Åsa. Very interesting, and thank you also for giving your contact details so people can maybe send you questions.
Yeah.
I have some questions too, of course. So what about the business case before? I mean, you said the challenge is the organization, of course, and but how did you sell, or how did you sell this into the organization and to the management?
Yeah, if you work with the CRM, as I do, you constantly get the question, or people say, yeah, we also want to start working with CRM or marketing automation. And what I always respond with is, what are you going to use it for? Or what do you want to achieve? So only by telling myself that question and also looking at the larger KPIs and where S is heading, it's not so hard to narrow it down to some bullet points that we discussed with the people in the organization who needed to hear this. And again, we want to get returning customer check. Can this solution help us with it? That, yes, of course. But always ask yourself, what do we want to achieve? Because so many times you just buy a system or you implement something and it's not used the full way. So look what kind of solution fits you and your needs and what you want to achieve. I would say I would spend 2-3 weeks just with that to be sure that you get the right solution, because like I said, it's a huge investment. And it's also going to take a lot of people's time implementing this. And the third thing is to get the organization to understand it's not a tool, it's a way of working.
Okay, thanks. Daniel, do you have a question?
No, we have no questions, but there are many commenting that they think your story is very interesting and thanking you for it. So, no question, though.
I have another question then. Have you been able to really have all the customer information in the CDP and not also in a lot of other systems?
It's both a yes and a no. We prioritize the data sources and points that again connected with the why and what we wanted to achieve. We haven't connected everything yet because it's not relevant at the moment. We are trying to do where we can see most effect in the shortest time. So when we started, we initiated 10 journeys, 10 like standard journeys, abandoned cart, abandoned site, repurchase, upsell, and so on. So we started that because this is also a learning process for us. So I think when we can handle that and when we get more skillful in our system and how to work, we are going to use prediction models. We are going to use and build larger segments from the CDP that can help us to say the right thing to the right customer. As of today, it's still a bit manual, and we are trying to figure out on ourselves who is a early bird, who's a bargain hunter, who's a high roller, if you want to talk about them like that. So yet a few sources to come, but again, look what you want to achieve, add those sources and start there. Start simple and learn along the way.
Good, thank you. Perfect to end this. And thank you very much, Åsa, for all your sharing experiences and all the knowledge we got from it. So have a nice day. Bye-bye, Åsa. Okay, so now it's the end of this event, and maybe I hope that you have now full of insights and ideas and energy, or maybe you are still confused but on a higher level. So what we're going to happen here at Wednesday Relations is that the 26th of October we will have the Marketing Automation Day, the fall version, so don't miss that, 26th of October. And also I would like to thank very much all the speakers and the partners, Treasury Data, Tealium, and Adobe, that make it happen. And I hope we will come back with another CDP or other events. So see you soon again. Have a nice afternoon and lunch. Bye-bye.